Corona! I think it's called COVID. Corona! It's the Corona Cast with Daliso Chaponda! Hello, and welcome to the Corona Cast comedy show. If this is your first time tuning in, this is a show where I, Daliso Chaponda, stand-up comedian, struggling for live audiences because of the coronavirus, instead entertains you, the people of YouTube, people of Facebook, people of Twitch. My question is, am I currently broadcasting? If you can see me, please holla. Please holla. Okay, I see somebody is watching me. So at least it's broadcasting on some platforms, even though I cannot find it on others. Either way, let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Corona Cast comedy show. It's been a while. I've had a very busy beginning of December. I did the Royal Variety show, which was absolutely amazing. That is going to air on December the 8th on ITV. And then I also recorded Sarah Millican's wonderful show, Elephant in the Room. I was said Elephant in the Room, and that will be airing in January. And then I recorded the Daily Drop, also for ITV. This was the show which commentates on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of There. So I've been busy. I've not been doing Corona Cast. So what is going on with the Corona Cast as comedian life sort of comes back to normal? It's still not the same as it was last year, but it's sort of getting back. So I won't be broadcasting daily. What is going to happen is during December, there are going to be 12 Corona Casts. Now, I can't tell you exactly which days it's going to be, so hopefully just click subscribe or click notification, and whenever I go on, it will come out. And also, or you can just check out my YouTube because a slightly edited, without this rambling version of each of these 12 episodes will appear on my YouTube channel. Okay, and so this is what's going to happen. I am going to do a look back at 2020, jokes about every month of the year. That's what's going to happen during the course of December. Then from January, theoretically, Corona Cast is going to go to weekly. There's going to be one a week as I am around the world touring and doing things as normal. Of course, if we end up back in lockdown, we'll be back to daily, but I got my fingers crossed. We got a possible vaccine. We've got things opening up, so I'm hoping it won't be necessary, but I'm going to keep entertaining you because you guys have kept me sane. I've also got to ask people who have been patrons, people who have helped me financially through this year from March. You have been so appreciated. I don't need it anymore, so I would say those of you who are patrons, you could if you could either stop being a patron or you could go down to the lowest level if you still want updates, which is $1 a month, because for December and January it seems like I've got a comedy income coming in. But trust me, if we go back into lockdown, I'll be back saying help, people, help. But that's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to be the 12 days of Delismus, as Sean says. Indeed. Okay, let's keep going. I think it is not broadcasting on Facebook, but what I will do is on any platform where it is not broadcasting, the edited version will be posted. But for those of you who are here, let's get going, because this is something I'm going to edit. If I stumble over words and sentences, I will say them again. So that is some deja vu which you may be getting. Let's get started. Look back at the year 2020. Now, 2020, it's almost over. Okay? I know a lot of you are saying, I wish it was over now. I've hated this year. Let it be over. And people feel like it's going to be like almost like an incantation. As soon as the clock strikes midnight, this year of hell, this year of the plague will be over. But it's interesting what this year will be thought of as in the future. Because if you think about things like World War I, while it was going on, nobody called it World War I. Nobody even called it World War. It was just the war, right? What will in 50 years, in 100 years, what will this be looked at as? Will this be the year of Corona? Will it be Pandemic 1? We don't know what it will be. I can only hope that it will be the only pandemic of our time, right? But I was thinking about this, and let's get started and see how the world was expecting the world to be at the beginning of this year. So at the beginning of 2020, the United Nations declared 2020 the International Year of Plant Health. Well, I can say it definitely was not the International Year of Human Health, but they might have been wrong on that one. I also think it's an odd thing that they name years at the beginning of a year, right? Why don't you declare it at the end of the year? It would be like voting for the Oscars before watching the movies, right? Best Picture is going to go to 365 days. Nobody has watched it yet. You should wait on it. But that was in January, because I'm going to be talking just about January. In January, the idea was this was looked at the International Year of Plant Health, or if you look at the Chinese calendar, it was Year of the Rat. Year of the Rat, which I think is a little bit closer, right? It's a little bit closer if you actually think about it. If you change the R for a B. Year of the Bat. Though, of course, even though it was accepted by the public imagination, it turned out after further examination, further study, bat soup did not cause the coronavirus. But it was so embraced by popular imagination that they're stuck with it, right? Bats are stuck with it. I'm sorry, bats. You can say what you want. You can sue us for defamation of character, but you are stuck with the blame. People will always be blaming the bats. I even bet the next Batman movie is going to have people hissing at the screen because they grabbed the popular imagination of what caused the virus. Now, it's the same way that I did not fart in the lift on the way to the 60th floor, but I was stuck with the blame. I'm stuck with the stigma simply because I was the plumpest person there. Well, actually, the culprit, I think, was the thinnest person there. 2021 is the year of the ox. Hopefully, the year of the ox will be far more positive than the year of the rat, which we just have. But if anybody sees a big ox with bloodshot eyes, do not approach it. Stay away. Stay away. Okay, let's see how people are going. Let's see how you're going. Oh, thank you so much. Shawnee says, for as long as you keep enjoying my comedy, you shall remain a Patreon on whatever level you're on. That is much appreciated, Sean A. Very, very, very appreciated. Hello to you from Greece, Eva De Vera. Very good to have you in the house, indeed. And hello from Kenya, Raymond Jack. Hope you're doing well. Okay, let's keep going and see what other things came out in January. Actually, also for my editing, I realized I did not actually introduce the fact that I'm looking at January. So we're just going to do this so that I get edited in. Today, the CoronaCast is going to be looking back at January 2020. Oh, I stumbled over that. That was terrible. Take two. Okay. Today, the CoronaCast is going to be looking back at January 2020. I think that was good. Okay, let's get going, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, of course, the moment which defined this year, January 30th, the COVID-19 pandemic. January 30th. Who knew 30th is a tongue twister? January 30th, the COVID-19 pandemic was declared by the World Health Organization as a public health emergency of international concern. Now take your mind back to January the 30th. I've got to admit that I did not take the coronavirus seriously. I was not afraid of the coronavirus, and I'm sure I was not the only one. We were so naive. We underestimated it the way that Hans Gruber underestimated John McClane, right? The way that men underestimated every single woman in every single Harlequin romance. Every single one of us thought it's going to be a month. Oh, it's going to be 3 weeks. Well, hello, December. We are still going. It's still going. But this is also the year where doctors, nurses, medical researchers all did more than any of us could have expected, took a lot of risks. And with that in mind, I would like to take this moment as a comedian to end once and for all the adage that laughter is the best medicine. It's not, okay? It's not. Don't come to me coughing and sputtering and expect me to fix you, okay? You need antibiotics, okay? You need medicine. You need a vaccine, even you vaccine deniers, huh? If you don't believe in vaccines, don't think laughter is going to solve your problems. I'm not saying laughter isn't good. Once you've got some medicine, I'll throw in some laughter, make you feel even better, like a cherry on top. But that is that. Okay, how have we got here? Sarah Hall says, on the first day of Delismus, Deliso gave to me a comedy look back at January. Yes, indeed, that is what is going on. Hello, I'm glad you're enjoying the pre-edit bits. Laughter is indeed the best medicine for the soul, not for germs. Appreciated, much appreciated. Let's keep going, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we come to the end of January, where the United Kingdom formally withdrew from the European. It's funny how when I know I'm going to edit it, I psychologically stumble more. I don't know if that's just how the brain works. If I know I'm not going to edit it, I really get out the sentences. But by knowing that I'm going to edit it, I make mistakes. So let's do it again. Next up, of course, the United Kingdom formally withdrew from the European Union at 11 o'clock GMT at the end of January. Now, this is one of the most announced withdrawal dates. And it's also one where you look at it, where you're saying, this year, Corona was coming and punching us in the face. And this was the moment that the UK decided, hey, one unpredictable crisis is not enough. Let's throw in another one. Hey, Jaws is swimming around in the water. Why don't we throw in some piranhas too? See if that helps, right? And it's just one of those cases where they formally announced that they're withdrawing, but the UK hasn't actually left the European Union yet. It's still negotiating. It's like that drunk friend of yours at a party, right? The drunk friend of yours at a party who at 1 p.m. says, oh, I gotta get home. I gotta get home. And then spends the next hour and a half talking to everybody, saying goodbye and going into little anecdotes and hugging everybody. So, of course, as this is the year of the plague, no hugs! Oh, I can actually count. I can count on one hand the amount of hugs I've had this year. Oh, my Lord. Okay, let's keep going. Ladies and gentlemen, to the next story. Hello. Sean is asking about the panda. I forgot to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that all of our technical issues are being dealt with by Pandemic the Panda, who is hard at work beneath the table, making all of these gizmos work. Okay, let's keep going, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Where Panda, Pooh Bear, and the elephant. Panda is the only character who is a recurring member of the Corona cast, but you're right. There are other anthropomorphized stuffed animals within this flat. Okay, let's keep going on, ladies and gentlemen, to the next story. This is a very interesting story. Now, I don't know if any of you remember this in January, but in January, there was a tragic shooting at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola. And Apple said that it was helping the authorities, but it refused to unlock the phones, right? It refuses to unlock the phone. There's been a couple of cases where people have been suspected of terrorist activity, etc. And in each of the cases, Apple has refused to unlock the phones for authorities because they feel that it opens a slippery slope because governments, possibly, which they disagree with more, could equally ask them to unlock people's phones, right? This, of course, created a huge surge in Apple sales with every person who has got something to hide. People who have got websites they visit, people who are having affairs, all realize that I need to be on Apple. Now, I coincidentally happened to get an iPad in January 2020, but that's not because I have anything to hide. I'm an open... If I die, please erase my internet history. Okay, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on. Okay, let's keep going, ladies and gentlemen, with the final story of the day, ladies and gentlemen. This is one which was absolutely bizarre. Okay, I think this was in Lesotho. Let me double check and check this was in Lesotho. I was relying on my memory, but as I'm going to be posting this, yes, it is Lesotho. Imagine I had done the story with the wrong country. Okay, here we go. Final story of the day is Prime Minister Tom Thabane announced his forthcoming resignation after an arrest warrant was issued for his current wife, pictured First Lady Maisa Thabane, who was wanted in connection with the murder of his estranged wife. Okay, let's say that again. That's a lot of words. Here we go. Prime Minister Tom Thabane announced his forthcoming resignation after an arrest warrant was issued for his wife, First Lady Maisa Thabane, who was wanted in connection with his previous wife's murder. I gotta tell you, you need to look into this story. If you had not heard of this story, it has got everything you want in a soap opera. It's got intrigue, it's got murder. It's like an episode of Game of Thrones. It is like an episode of Game of Thrones. I mean, take a look at her, okay? Take a look at her. Take a look of Take a look at her. Would any of us be surprised if she showed up next week riding on a dragon, right? This is a crazy situation. It's ongoing. It's probably going to be ongoing all the way through 2021, but it does teach us something. If you are with somebody who possibly murdered your ex, okay?
What?
Yeah. There's a Lesotho politician whose wife was arrested because of murdering his ex. Right? Now, my point is, love, you can't control who you love, right? You can't control for whom you develop any affections. But if you fall in love with somebody who murdered your ex, right? If you love a murderer, it better be forever, okay? You do not want to have that conversation with the person who murdered your ex. They say, like, look, I don't think it's working out. It's not you. It's me. And then they'll shoot you in the face. No, that is not where I am looking for true love, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the final story for the day. But before I go, we're going to have a little bit of we'll have a chat. So ask questions. If you have any questions, ask away. Before I go, we can chit-chat a bit. But also, I'm on tour. I will remind you all that all through 2021, I am going on a tour of the UK called Apocalypse Not Now, looking at the fact that the world didn't end and some of the revelations which I had during the lockdowns. Very funny show. You can go to africancomedian.com and you can find out when I am near you. If you are a Patreon, on patreon.com/DeliSearchAponda, you are entitled to a free ticket when I am near you or any of the old patrons. People could be doing the math and say, hey, why don't I become a patron today for £1 and get a free ticket for a tour which costs £10? I'm not a fool. I'm not a fool. I'm talking about the people who've been patrons celebrated me and supported me all year. They get free tickets. And indeed, I shall do Wales. South Africa, it all depends on what happens with the pandemic. So March is a possibility because there's Cape Town Festival and so on and so forth, but it all depends what happens with the pandemic. So if I was, for instance, to go do a show now in South Africa, I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks when I got there, and I'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks when I got by. That's going to cramp your style if you're trying to tour. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm just putting in a UK tour now. We're going to see what happens with the vaccine, going to see what happens with travel restrictions and travel rules, and then I'm going to keep adding dates. So currently it's February, March, April, May, I believe, and then hopefully by then I can do Africa, I can do some European dates, I can do some North American dates from then onwards. That's what's going on. So there will be some European countries coming in eventually. I don't do well in a lot of European countries, so I usually do Ireland, I usually do Romania, I usually do Belgium, but I don't do everywhere. It's where there is demand for Delisa Japonda. Yes, Corona is definitely cramping my style. So that's pretty much the show for today. I'm gonna go and edit it down to something that can stand on my YouTube channel. And yes, I will be back. I will not be back immediately. So tomorrow I am actually going down to London to film something for ITV. As I said, my appearances are going to be rather ramshackle this month because there's all sorts of things going on. But I'm going to get out 12. Do you hear me? I'm going to get out 12 Corona casts of December, looking back at the year. That is the aim. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for stopping by. And you who watched the BGT Act and loved it, do tune in on the 8th